What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Wednesday, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
Today's episode is brought to you by All County Exteriors. All County Exteriors is a third-generation, premier exterior home remodeling company celebrating over 40 years in business. In a remodeling world where the average remodeling company only survives in business for only 5 years, All County Exteriors has stood the test of time, providing their customers with top-quality roofing, siding, windows, and doors. They service homeowners and builders with anything from small repairs to large additions. All County Exteriors is not just limited to construction. They have a deep passion for giving back to their community and are charitable supporters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the American Cancer Society, Roofs for Troops, and Parents of Autistic Children. If you have planned to do any exterior remodeling, call the experts at All County Exteriors for a free, no-obligation estimate for your project. Just call 732-370-2780 or email them at info@allcountyonline.com. That's 732-370-2780 for All County Exteriors for all your remodeling needs. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Kulot.
Hello, hello, hello. What is up, everyone? Hope you guys had a great week. Mike and I are coming at you this Wednesday with a big episode. We got a couple things we want to chat about. But before we get there, I want to remind you that today's guest is Dawson Jones. Dawson is played his high school golf at Howell High School, went to URI, played Division I there, and then after college decided that he was gonna put the sticks away and get into the business world. Did that for a few years, only before realizing that he was missing golf and decided to get back into it. He turned pro in December of 2022. So this past season, he had quite a year. He's trying to figure out what to do, how to, what is pro golf like when you're not on a tour, you're trying to make a tour. So he did a lot of Monday qualifiers. He tried doing Q school, and unfortunately he didn't play well. So he missed that qualifying. We really wish him a lot of luck. He's really a great kid. So stick around for that. You can hear about his trials and tribulations over the past couple months. So make sure you stay around and listen to us chat with Dawson. Mike, before we get into the episode, I want to do a little shameless plug on YouTube. Last week, I dropped my final Ireland video. For those that have been following along, I went to Ireland back in August, and we've been putting out Ryan verses from Ireland. And we had our final one. And then we had a wrap-up. So if you have not been following along or something that interests you, go back into our YouTube page. Go watch those Ryan verses. I think they're pretty good. And then we have the final wrap-up of all the courses that I played. And it was a rather large video. So, kind of gives you everything that we did. And really, it was such a great trip, an unbelievable experience, and reliving it as I was watching it was just incredible. So, again, check out our YouTube page. Go watch those Ryan verses from Ireland, or the final wrap-up video from Ireland. And don't forget, Mike's putting out videos too, so go watch Mike verses as well, and check out all of our content on there, as we say at the top of the show.
Yeah, you know what I will say is for the people that have not or don't realize that things are also on YouTube, you got to go check us out, the Drop Golf Podcast on YouTube. Click that subscribe button so, when videos do come out, you'll get to see them as well. But Ryan, I watched it. I love the pictures. And I think that's one thing when I think about when you cross the pond and you go to the other side and you see this golf, it's typically, I feel like it's always raining. And everybody's got the rain suits on, and it's like windy and cold and miserable. But after watching your video, I felt like I didn't see any rain. I saw sun, I saw no clouds in the sky, I saw mountains, I saw views, I saw water. Like, I know I say this a lot from like an optics and an aesthetic purpose. Like that was a well put together video, and as much as Ireland is not high on my list to want to go play golf at, it kind of like tickled my fancy a little bit and said, hey, maybe that place is a little underrated when it comes to the game of golf.
Well, I don't know why it wouldn't be on your list. It was an absolutely incredible trip, and I said it in the video. It was a trip of a lifetime, and we went northwest because my friend who's out there really likes that. You know, it's natural. It's more natural out in that part of the country. And I say it in the video. There's one course we played that more so than any of the other courses, but all of them did look like this. It looked like they just sent sheep out to go see what's going on, graze for a day, come back, there's hole 1. And then they sent him out again, they grazed, there's hole 2. So it was really a stunning trip as far as that goes. So if it's not, you should put Ireland on your list. As far as like
go ahead.
I was gonna say, as far as the weather goes, like I'm not taking my phone out when it's raining, so it's not like we didn't get any rain. But there were times where so Ireland's weather comes in like every 20 minutes. It's gonna be super windy. It's gonna spit and rain, and then that's 40 minutes, and then you're gonna get beautiful weather for 20. Like it's this constant cycle of weather that comes through. So we really got, and I think I mentioned it in one of the videos, I talk about wet rain and regular rain. So the wet rain is like where you get soaked, and the other rain is just like where it's misting. And because it's so windy, you dry off almost instantly. So there weren't a lot of times where I was taking the phone out while we were getting rained on, and that's because it only really rained when we were in Sligo, which is really the only time that it was really coming down. Other than that, it was just like that misty kind of rain that you didn't, not going to take great pictures in that anyway. But there were a couple of, you could see, like, you saw it going past on some of the cliffs, which was kind of cool. You could see like it raining in the distance, which was a really interesting, really neat, factoid about the country. So,
yeah, listen, I thought it was a great video. I think it's a longer video when you say long videos. I mean, but it's 15 minutes, and I think it's well worth the watch for anybody. And again, it's right there on the YouTube page. So go click that subscribe button.
Like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Mike, let's we go from me playing golf to you playing golf. I know we talked last week. We both got the chance to play Riverwinds, a Ron Jaworski course. You played 2 more places. Ballamor, I know you've talked very highly of that place, and Scotland Run you took another shot at. If those that don't remember, Mike got to play Scotland Run early in the year on like a super rainy day, so you took another crack at it. Let's talk about those 2.
Listen, I know that we've talked about a lot about these South Jersey courses in the Ottinger Golf Group with Atlantic City now being private, and then the Ballamor and the Scotland Run. And again, for me, in terms of how far things are, they are relatively closer than other spots I'm able to get to in late afternoons to get that full experience. And I can't lie, my daughter and I went out to both spots. We played both spots. The guys over at Ballamor are so good. Talking between Dante and Eric, those are 2 guys over there that are just so kind. They're so generous. And their golf course is simply amazing. I know I've said this to you so many times. That's a place that you can play a lot and just not get bored with. It's long, it's challenging, it's beautiful. There's so many good holes at Ballamor that, like, whether it's, the 3rd hole and you got, the water up there by the green. It's just so many different things about that golf course that, like, I truly love. And it's somewhere you've got to find a way to come down and play. And I know it's a little bit on the longer side for you. But it's just, I mean, I don't know if I have the right adjectives to describe it other than it's a must play. And I know I've said that so many damn times. because I've played there probably a good amount of times now. I'd say 4 or 5 times for me at one spot. That's a lot of times. So to me, like, Ballamor is a must hit. And then I obviously decided to venture even further west out to Scotland Run, because I know that I spoke beyond, positive about that place. And I had to go relive it again in nicer weather. And I swear to God, I don't know if I've played better, nicer, faster greens in Scotland Run. That place was so damn pure. And, again, the guys over there were beyond helpful. Every time that Brian, he's the head pro over there, anytime I'd shoot him an email or ask him a question about the golf course, he got back to me right away. The guys in the pro shop were so kind to when, I brought Maggie out there, and they, the guy Sean inside was so kind that he let Maggie just ride around with me for free, didn't charge me. So, like, those little things to me carry a ton of weight. And then obviously the golf course again. Listen, there isn't better public golf that I have seen in New Jersey than Scotland Run and Ballamor. There isn't. I know we've had this argument about Neshannock Valley, and I know last week even Jason Bataille said that was his number one public golf course. I know Brian from the Drop Zone has mentioned many times Neshannock. I promise I'll get up there, but since I haven't, it is a clear-cut number 1 and number 2 for me with Ballamor and Scotland Run. It's Scotland Run's 1 and Ballamor's 2, and until New Jersey golfers can find me something better on the public side than those two, quite frankly, I don't know what it is.
I will say this, Mike. It is far from me for sure. But the pictures, if the pictures are anything like what it actually is, and like you're describing, the pictures are beautiful. Pictures look great. Of Scotland Run, that is, and that's not to say that they're not of Ballamor. I'm just currently looking at Scotland Run as you're talking about it, and it looks like a tremendous facility. It really does.
It's so good. I know, and I am a big green guy. If the greens are rolling and they're in good shape, to me, like, I can look the other way on certain things. I truly can.
You totally are.
And not only were the greens so good, I didn't have to look away from anything else because the rest of the course was in such good shape. Such good shape. And then, obviously, you get to that 17th hole. Well, I guess it's kind of like in between 16 and 17. You got the airplane right there in the waste bunker. Maggie's running all the way out into the waste bunker, standing by the airplane. We're doing our thing out there. Like, it is just so good. And yes, both places, may look at the price and you say, again, $100, so on and so forth. But listen, that's what golf costs these days in my eyes. So if you're complaining about $100, like, I don't know where it's cheaper and you're still going to get quality. I don't. So to me, it's like you're paying $100 to play golf at a decent, solid golf course. So I don't think it's expensive.
And 100 is like, you're going to, like, when we say 100, like, you're going to top out at 100. Go to a place, think at 100, and if it's going to be 80 with a cart, then that's what it's going to be. But you're not finding anywhere that's 40 with a cart anymore that's going to be worth its salt. You're just not, especially post-pandemic, because it's been golf has had such an explosion. So, yeah, you're right in there as far as the money goes. I don't want to hear otherwise. And then on top of that, these places have deals for things like that anyway. So,
listen, I can't lie. Both spots are so good. I think if there was one part of me that really wanted to say I wanted to get a golf membership, I would have a hard time bypassing those 2 spots because they're in that same Ottinger golf group. You can work your deal to be a member at both spots and have privileges. Like, that would be I'd have a hard time saying no to that place if I was looking to join somewhere. But again, for me, like, I don't play many golf courses more than once. For me, it's kind of like the old hit and run. I'll hit it, and I'm moving on to the next golf course. Like, I can't sit there and play the same spot over and over again because I feel like in the shoes that you and I are in, it's all about exploring the state. Mm-hmm. And to camp out and put our flag down at one spot, I don't know if that would be fair to the rest of the state because there's such so many other good spots that we'd have to venture to.
Right. You know who could? Orson. There's the one person who can. And you've played them all. There it is. Yeah, Micah, I'd really like to get there. It's just, for me, it's a haul. You know, I know it's long for you. It's just, how can I justify 4-hour round of golf? It's nearly 2 hours away. So you're dedicating, 8-hour day to that for just 18 holes. So it's something that I need to get to. I want to get to. It's not like that. I love that the people there are good to you. I'm one of those. I'm a loyal person. I like to hear when someone's good to you. Like, I'd rather go there, even if you were to say the course isn't that great, but they let you go there. That's something where, like, I could jump on board with people that are doing the right thing, people that are nice people. That, to me, is astronomically huge, and I love hearing that they let you and your daughter on to play and kind of bounce around, that they've been communicative with you in our instance, for us. So that's all huge. I love to hear all that.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, because to me, like,
that's good people helping good people, right? Like, that's what we're all here. We're all trying to do the same thing. Like, just be nice. It's not that hard to be nice.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about that many times, about how do golf courses approach, when Maggie wants to come out and ride around with me. Like, do they charge you? And quite simply, I went to both spots, and neither one charged me for her. So to me, like, I love that. I love that, because when she wants to come out and do some things, like, let's go do it. And, you're not always free to come play golf with me, so.
No, and you know what? I love that they do that, because my friend's son is young. He's 8 years old now. For the last couple summers, he's been coming out to New Jersey, and the places that are by me, they're going to try charging him full price for him to ride in the golf cart, basically. He has like 6 clubs, maybe. One of them's a putter. I think might have 5 clubs, 4 clubs. One of them's a putter, and he just kind of he'll putt a little bit on the greens, but he's not playing the golf course. And we talked about this when we talked about Mark Bryson. Mark was like, yeah, he's so pro junior golf that's what we should be trying to do. And if you can make, now maybe she's going to like golf regardless, because you like golf and that's a thing you do. But I remember hearing an interview with Padraig Harrington, and he was talking about getting his kids into golf. And he's like, I never pushed them to get into golf. We'd go, I'd play, they'd drive the golf cart because it's fun, right? Or they'd hit a couple shots. We'd get ice cream afterwards. That's the thing they remember. They just associate golf with fun, and then in their own time will pick it up. And that's what it seems like you and your daughter are doing. And that to me is, A, the right way to do it. B, I love that Scotland Run and Ballamor are able to facilitate that as well. So I'm all about that. Love to hear that.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely getting to Ballamor's closer to me for sure, and I plan on getting there this fall, again, with or without you. That's my guarantee. Send it. Guarantee.
Wow. I will say, it's funny because obviously we talk a lot about the places that you and I have played, and obviously, I think I had said Scotland Run was my number one, so I was like, all right, I want to go back out there and see what it looks like. But just like you said, Ballamor, like Neshannock Valley for me has been one that I spoke a lot about, that I need to find a way to get my ass up there and see what this place is about, because you all talk about it so highly. And I can be a little particular about certain things. I can be a little OCD about certain things.
No, not you.
A little, just a tiny,
okay.
tiny
I didn't
bit.
know. I had no idea.
Yes,
I'm glad you opened up to me.
Yeah, I'm opening up a little bit. Sometimes you got to talk about, your problems a little bit. So just a tiny smidgen. I'm a little particular. Specifics matter, So I did not want to go up to Neshannock until I knew that those greens are fully recovered. Now, rumor on the mill right now going out there on the circuit is the greens are starting to shape up. So I might have to put some gas in that old engine and start driving north again on the Parkway.
Okay, well, I'll wave to you as I pass and go south and play Ballamor. So
There you go. So I'm not making no guarantees like you because I can't guarantee anything in life, but I am making a very hard attempt to get there before the New Jersey golf season posting closes by November 14th. That's my promise.
Love that. Full send.
Whatever that means. George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. George Wall Ford is a 23-time President's Award winning store, the most prestigious customer satisfaction award a Ford dealer can receive. This golfing family knows what's best from the rest, so make sure you stop in the showroom today to see their surplus of different cars, SUVs, trucks, and more, or visit them at www.georgewall.com. There isn't a better place to shop. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs.
Mike, let's move on to another topic here, another golf course that we should cover. One that we talked a little bit about when we first started this, and one that maybe is not going to be, if you're looking for a place that's got really great bones, that's on its way up, and one that we talked about, SunEagles. It's going private next year. I feel like they've been going this way for a while. It was bought by, if you don't know anything about SunEagles, it's the old Fort Monmouth course. It was owned by the Army. I actually had I had a really cool experience there one time, which was really interesting. Sitting at the bar, I had one of my best friends went to West Point, so he could get us on when it was still military only. So I played as a guest. Him being at West Point, we were able to get on and play, and sitting in the bar next to like Army generals and things it was just really cool to see that and see that interaction between people in the Army and my friend who went to West Point. Was just kind of a fun thing. But anyway, then the state owns it for a little while. It's kind of like Spring Meadow. They don't really do anything with it. And then since the Martelli group, Martelli does like a lot of home renovations and things like that. The guy's name is Sal Martelli. He bought it, and they've been renovating it in the last couple years, and they've been taking down the housing, and they've been putting townhouses in there and redoing the course. I like that they're trying to keep some of the history to the course, from what I understand, as far as like it's an A.W. Tillinghouse design. It's a great one in our immediate area here, and they're doing it to where they can try to keep things that he put in place, but trying to update them because it needs updating. It drains terribly, so I know they've been fixing that over the last couple of years. Anyway, long story short, they've been kind of raising the price for their members. It's one of those semi-private places, and rumor has it that next year they're going fully private. So if you're looking for a spot, again, the bones there are tremendous. They fixed the drainage. It's really coming around nicely. So if you're looking for a place that's not going to be around next year for you to play so readily, go over to SunEagles and get around in, because the time is running out there for public play. So really good spot though. Really, I'm sad to see it go from the public side. But with the property and the things that Martelli are doing to it, it was inevitable that it was going to go fully private, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I always liked SunEagles. I was about to call it Fort Monmouth again, but I always liked SunEagles. I kind of like Tillingham's design golf courses, and I know he's got a huge repertoire of golf courses, not only all over the place. You're talking about Bethpage Black, you're talking about Ridgewood, where he's got his fingerprints on, he's got his fingerprints on Somerset Hills, like he's got his, Spring Lake, like he's got his fingerprints on so many things. I want to say, I'm pretty sure he's also involved with Baltusrol as well. Like he's all over
Jumping
the place
Brook?
in terms. Yeah, so I kind of always liked his designs. I have not played SunEagles, though, in a very, very long time. But I have hosted a few golf tournaments there from high school that I recall that, watching the student athletes go out there and play. Like, I was like, this is a nice little neat track, and it's fair but challenging. It's fun, but also, you can put up some higher numbers. So listen, it kind of stinks that, the public is losing a nice little spot like this. But since COVID, like you said, things in the golf world has just kind of skyrocketed. And if they have the membership and they have the support and the financial means to go private, like, it's hard to see why courses aren't doing that.
No, for sure. And like, it's supposed to be a community living. You have the townhouse, there's a clubhouse. It's like a whole thing there that they're doing, and it is a shame. And I've been saying it for years that it has great bones. I don't know if there's a course in the area that has more potential than that place to be really, really good. It has the bones there. Again, it's got the Tillinghast design. They got to fix the drainage, but like, there's some holes there that you're like, wow, this is spectacular. And you even see a lot of the courses. You even see some of his holes replicated. Like the fourth hole at Bethpage, I think is very, very similar to 10, 11, 12, the 13th hole there as well. It's really good, really is. So maybe another place we should try to get to before it closes.
Another one bites the dust.
And another one does, and another one does, and another one bites the dust. Yeah. Well, we're talking fall golf here, Mike. Let's go to the enemy of fall golf. Everyone's least favorite part of fall golf. Leaves.
What are those?
Well, you playing in Pine Straw, you're able to see your ball all the time. But people up north,
actually hit it in the fairway.
Right, there's wind.
No the fairway.
There's wind. Wind blows. Don't forget Little Mill. We had all those leaves there at Little Mill. The leaf rule being like, you hit it.
What is the leaf rule?
Okay, this is good. I'm glad that we're going to bring this up then. To my understanding, when you're playing fall golf and leaves are falling and they're all over the ground, as they start to fall, if you lose your ball in a pile of leaves, right? You hit it, it trickles into, could be the fairway if trees are overhanging, but it could be the rough. But if you hit it into an area and you can't find your ball because it's covered by leaves and you're just like, hey, it came in this area, then and all of your group members can agree that's where it is, then you just drop one, play it from there.
So I just did some research. Local Rule F-14 allows areas with temporary accumulations of loose impediments, like a pile of leaves, to be treated as ground under repair. This means you can take free relief from this area, including for a ball that you know is in the pile, even if you can't find it. So, what is my take on the leaf rule? That would kind of suck if I know that we all know that the ball is in there. So yeah, of course I got to be given the benefit of the doubt. I think the idea is you don't want to penalize someone because, these 9 billion leaves are falling off the tree.
I guess what I'm asking, Mike, is the leaf rule an automatic thing, or does the course need to put it in play? Because you gave us some official jargon, right? And I gave you the unofficial jargon. There's some leaves here. You and I are playing, and you hit that beautiful draw of yours, but the wind is right to left, pushes it underneath the trees. You know that it's in between those trees, or kind of, I'm just telling you, hey, Mike, just drop it and play through. That's basically what the leaf rule is, right? We know it went over there. Clear out some space, hit the ball, let's move on, let's keep pace of play, let's keep it rolling here. You shouldn't be penalized for the trees dying or the leaves dying that we can't find that ball. You gave us the official jargon, Does the course then need to put that into play, or is that just in play and we can be intelligent individuals and put it in play as needed?
So it's funny you asked that, because before the jargon I just read you, it says this. The short answer is it depends. The golf course or the committee running that tournament has the authority to enact that local rule. Now, let's be honest. Before you and I go play, I'm not knocking on the head pro's door saying, "Oh, by the way, is the local rule F-14 in effect today?"
I bet you they don't even know the numbering of what F-14 is.
He's going to look at me and say, "Okay, sir, please leave.
Yeah.
Please leave now." Okay. So I would say that is a thing that you and your buddies, before you tee off, are going to come to that agreement that, hey, listen, if it's in a pile of leaves and we can't find it, we all agree that it went in here, then yeah, you're going to get that free relief. No questions asked. But if you're tied on the 18th hole and there's some money on the line and all of a sudden, you hit it in like a little bushel of leaves and you think it's there and you're trying to like get one over on us, like, and then we're going to have some dialogue.
I don't think that's getting one over. That's exactly what it's there for. The leaf rule is in play. Now, the leaf rules, I'll say this, the leaf rule's not in play in July. No leaves falling on the ground then. You can find those balls. You can't just hit it waywardly and go, leaf rule. You're not playing, right? You're not, and you're not playing, right? You're not playing, you're not, the leaf rule's not in play when there's just desert golf or links golf where there's no trees. Leaf rule, can't find it. But I think that I think we're definitely, as we're in late October, it's leaf rule season. And I think it should just be kind of automatically implemented, maybe. Just like, hey, you and I go out and play, leaf rules in play. We don't need to announce it or anything like that. If we can't find your ball, it's drop and go. Now,
yeah,
you got to have an honest effort to find it and all that kind of stuff. That goes without 100%. Saying, right? That's like we're being honest about trying to find our ball. But I think that's the impetus of this time of year. We should be automatically putting the leaf rule in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of like one of those things. I think once September 1st comes, like the idea is, let's have fun while we play golf. It's hard enough. I don't need you out there being somebody from like sitting on the couch calling in a penalty on me because I moved my ball because of the leaf rule is in effect. And, oh, but by the way, I called the golf course and it wasn't in effect. Like, okay, chill out. Like, I'm trying to have fun out here. Like, I agree with you. I do think like a fair date for the whole thing when it comes to the leaf rule is simply September 1st. Like,
love it.
All golf courses.
Yep, autumn.
All golf courses in effect. You don't like it, go somewhere where it doesn't have leaves.
Yeah. Good. Glad we're on the same page there.
Chalk it up. Chalk it up. So, Ryan, we haven't done one of these in a while, and I've kind of been sitting on this and trying to find the right time to ask. And, fall golf's around the corner. We're still, trying to tee it high and let it fly. And our guy, Pat from Sussex County, had shot me an email literally probably, maybe 6 weeks ago to this point asking us a question. And it was kind of like on the heels of one of our former guests, Stu Hagestad, winning his third Mid-Am at Sleepy Hollow, on top of Stu being victorious on the Walker Cup team at St. Andrews. And he had asked me this question, and I thought like, oh, this is actually a good one if we can find the right time. So the question to you is this. You have to pick one. Would you rather be good enough to play golf at the professional level, or would you rather be an elite amateur like Stu Hagestad is? Which one do you want?
Wow, that's a good question.
It's a great question.
Is there any kind of am I like a struggling pro? Like, not saying I need to be Tiger Woods, but like, am I making occasional cuts, or am I like struggling on the Corn Ferry Tour?
No, I'd say you're on the PGA Tour and you're within the top, whatever their money list is, 125, 70, whatever their new money list thing is now these days.
Right.
You're keeping your card, but you're struggling on a day-to-day basis. You're grinding, missed cuts, making cuts, some top tens, but you're not Tiger, Rory, Rahm, JT, Jordan. You're not that. But you're like, you're on the tour. Or would you rather be Stu Hagestad?
If I'm on the tour, is there potential that I can get there?
Are you asking more questions on top of questions? Can you answer it? Do you want to be an elite amateur or a run-of-the-mill PGA Tour guy who keeps his card but doesn't necessarily do anything outrageous?
Is that for my whole career, or is there any chance that I ever become better than just a run-of-the-mill?
No. You're a run-of-the-mill guy, making cuts randomly, make inside the money list. You'll keep your card. You're not doing anything spectacular. You're not Brian Harman going to win the Open Championship. No, you're not doing that stuff.
I appreciate you putting the fanciness on Brian Harman's name there. It's hard not to say Stu because you play to win championships, right? That's why we all play sports. You got into basketball to win an NBA championship. You play football to win a Super Bowl. We don't play football to go to the Hall of Fame. That's not our goal as a youngster. It's not why anybody starts playing sports. And golf is unique because every week, really, you got another opportunity to win there. And I think that thinking that I normally have is more siding for Stu, because Stu is winning and competing, and while he's not making a ton of money doing it, like you could do as even just like the top, what does number 125 on the money list make? Like whatever that person makes on the money list there is still more money than Stu's making playing golf. So then I got to think, am I okay making, what is he making? $200,000 a year? Is it that much? I literally have no idea.
Okay, so to put it in perspective,
yeah,
the tour average, okay, on what the money list guys make. I can't even give you the average, but I can tell you, I don't even know what the cut is anymore, but like number 125, which used to be the benchmark,
yep.
Right?
Let's go with that, because I agree. I think that's a good number of what.
So that number is $1.1 million. Andrew Novak, number 125 in the money list, made 1.1.
Fucking sign me up for that. I'll take 1.1 million. What's number? What was that? 125?
Yeah, that was 125 this year's money list.
Yeah, I probably take.
So now you're switching your whole thing up. You just went on a whole tangent about you're taking Stu in championships, and now you're switching your thing because
no. Hold on. First off, I didn't just get bought. I started to say the other side to it, and then I asked a question which we kind of got off topic with. 125th on the money list is 1.1. That's a lot of money. You're doing more than just making a living there. Whereas, like with Stu, again, the championships come into play. But could you say that those championships or those big tournaments that he's winning, they're not even the biggest ones because they're not the Masters, the Open Championship, the PGA. They're not even the biggest ones. So they're the biggest that he can play in, but there's still a level above that. With all that said, again, I think I think we do play to win, but if you're winning 1.1 million, you're still winning. If you're someone like Stu, who's at the top, who has the pressure to win at these things anytime he comes through, as opposed to some run-of-the-mill guy on the PGA Tour who's not expected to win at those. Yes, there's pressure to make cuts, but if you're someone who's making cuts, you're good enough to make cuts, you're not a struggling pro, which is what you said. You're someone who's middle of the road, making most of their cuts, occasional good round or good finish here or there. That's middle of the road. Not missing cuts and struggling to make cuts. That's not what we're talking about. Stu has the pressure of every time he goes out and plays, he's expected to win. A middle of the road guy is not expected to do that. So he doesn't have the same kind of pressure that Stu has. And that kind of pressure is less stressful, and in turn, something I'm going to sign up for. I'm going to sign up for less stress and a lot more money.
I can tell you this, that there was, in terms of how many guys made $1, there was 240 golfers in total. Now, that doesn't mean they're all on the PGA Tour. You had some Korn Ferry guys. You had some Monday
You said 240?
240 golfers had made $1 or more on the PGA Tour this year. But like I said, that doesn't mean there's 240 members because you had some Korn Ferry guys, some Monday qualifiers, some sponsors exemptions, and then obviously you got your PGA Tour guys. So in total, there was 240 golfers that received a paycheck to some extent from the PGA Tour.
That's good research by you. Yeah, I think that as long as, like, if I'm making a good enough living, I don't know what the last number on that list is or what this question, would be for that. But like, what is number 235 making? And it's probably not enough to have a living, right? So
$16,834.
Right. So I don't want to be that guy. I'll take Stu over that guy. But I'll tell you, that
wasn't the question.
No,
that wasn't the question.
You said middle of the road. Middle of the road is half 125, 1.1. I'm taking the 1.1, and I'm going to enjoy playing middle of the road golf, and I'm going to enjoy, which is still pretty good, by the way.
Okay, and this is what I'm going to tell you. You're way wrong.
Okay.
Way wrong. Way wrong. Right. Let's think about this real quick. You could be Andrew Novak making 1.1, right? Which you don't even know who he is. You have no idea who he is. You have no clue who he is.
Not a clue.
Or you can be not. Exactly.
I have Jimmy Walker, by the way, is 125 on the list. So
okay, 125. You have who?
2003 PGA Tour.
Yeah, you got to get it updated as of the last tournament. So Jimmy Walker's 126. Stu Hagestad. Okay, think about that man's life. Right? Walker Cup. Guy's going to go down in history as probably the best Walker Cup player ever. 3-time Mid-Am champion. He's going to play the Masters probably again this year.
Yeah.
He's going to Pinehurst to go play the U.S. Open. Like, on top of all he just won the Crump Cup at Pine Valley. Like, on top of making a few $100,000, and no offense, I bet you Stu makes way more than a few $100,000 doing what Stu does. But if you're telling me that I can make a decent amount of money to support the lifestyle that I have, and oh, by the way, the only places you're going to play are the cream of the crop, how the hell? There's no grinding for Stu. Now, I get it. Yes, there is.
Now, hold on. There's a huge grinding for Stu. And you also told me he's not making any money golfing. He's an
amateur.
Right, exactly.
He's an amateur.
So I'm going with the money that you'd make golfing.
Then Live Golf's going to call you up and they're going to go sign you to bring you over. But Stu Hagestad, I'll take championships. I'll take best Mid-Am probably ever. I'll take going down in history as probably one of the best amateurs ever. I'll take the history, I'll take the tradition, I'll take the legacy that Stu Hagestad will have when it's all said and done over 1.1 million and whoever the hell is Andrew Novak.
And I'll take all that minus the legacy because right, yeah, you have Andrew Novak and I have Jimmy Walker, but either way, no legacy with those two.
Tomato.
But they're still playing in the U.S. Open. They're still playing in I don't know. I don't think 125
I'm sure
is making the Masters.
They're qualifying for though. They're still qualifying. They're not getting. They're going to probably have to go through local.
What do you think Stu
qualifying.
had to do? You don't think Stu had to qualify? They just asked him, "Hey,
next
Stu."
Year, by the way, next year, no, he doesn't have to.
Right,
he just won the U.S.
Right, his qualifying was what he just did. He still had to qualify. These guys are still going to have to qualify too.
Right. So, but I'm saying it's not like it's a gimme for either one of them.
Right, and I'd rather do, like, they're going to do the same thing and they're going to make 1.1 million. That's certainly right up my alley. To play a game and make money, I'm okay with that. I think that's a win-win question though, for sure. Because again, Stu's life is pretty good. Stu's got it pretty good.
There's some part of me that legacy trumps $1.1 million.
Yeah, but that's not yes, I would agree that legacy would trump money, but that's not money that people are knowing. Like, who knows? I don't think the average person knows about Stu Hagestad.
You don't?
Correct, I don't.
You think the average person knows
who Tiger Woods is? Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
But I'm saying like you're talking about legacy in like such a small circle that
I'm talking about in the golf world. If I said Stu Hagestad's name to this golf bubble that we live in, right? I'm going to say the majority of people either have heard of or they know of Stu Hagestad.
Here's this week's poll: Jimmy Walker or Stu Hagestad? Who's more
popular?
Who has the better leg?
It's not even close.
You know more. Not who's popular.
It's not even close.
Who's more well known?
It's not even close.
Right? It's Jimmy Walker. He's a professional golfer.
There's no way. There's no way that more people know who Jimmy Walker is than Stu Hagestad. 0% chance.
I think you're very, very wrong.
I can't wait to put this poll out tomorrow. I'm putting it out. Thursday, I am going to be glued to my phone checking these results.
You're glued to your phone regardless.
Yeah, but now
I'd be. You're talking about legacy and an amateur golfer. Look at how many amateur people that we've talked about, right? And our people know amateur golf because they are amateur golf. They're high-end amateurs, is a lot of the people that we've talked to, right? I'm talking about the majority of people that are just casual golf fans are not going to know who Stu Hagestad is. They're going to be like, maybe I've heard of his name, and you say, oh, he was an amateur that played in the Masters a couple years ago. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, I do remember because he was up near the leaderboard on day one or something, and they were watching it. But, like, our listeners obviously know who Stu is.
Who's going to know who Jimmy Walker is?
Everybody who knows anything about golf. He's a professional golfer.
Thursday can't come quick enough. Thursday cannot come quick enough right now. It is like mind-boggling to me. We are having this argument that we're comparing a no-name PGA Tour guy against probably the best amateur ever.
I'd be shocked if people knew, if the general public knew Stu more than a professional golfer.
Okay. Pat, thanks for the question. I can't lie. I hope you have more of these, Pat, if you have more of these, I know you're listening. Email them to me, and I promise I won't wait 6 weeks to put the next one out.
Did Pat give you what his was?
No. In terms of like what his answer was? No, he did not give me like what he would do. But all he wants to know is that he was looking forward to hearing our thoughts. Well, Pat, I just gave you my thoughts, and Ryan did as well. If you got more good ones like these, send them my way.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for Mike and I. We're going to send you to our interview with Dawson Jones. Again, great young man, recently turned pro, new to the grind, so he's got go through his trials and tribulations. Real quick, a reminder, would love you to rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. And here's our interview with Dawson Jones. Enjoy.
Today's guest is a local guy here to the Shore Conference, an area that Ryan and I know very, very well. He's a Howell High School graduate, a two-time NJSGA amateur champion, a Division I golfer who went up to Rhode Island. Today's guest is Dawson Jones. Dawson, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Dawson, appreciate you spending some time with us.
So, Dawson, I kind of want to get into this because I think you have a unique story to kind of, where you're at today. I know that, growing up, you had a very, very successful high school, collegiate, and then amateur career. And then you kind of dived in a little bit into the real world and having a job. And then, then I obviously, kind of followed along from the outskirts and saw that, now you're back into the professional game. And I saw that you just got your first career win as well out there in Iowa. So congrats. But why don't you give the audience a little bit of a background about you growing up here in our area, in our neck of the woods, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I grew up in I was actually born in Rhode Island. I only lived there for about 2 years, but then my family moved to Howell, New Jersey. Um, yeah, so growing up, obviously, I started playing golf when I was really young, probably about 3 or 4 years old. My dad put a club in my hand and just started having me swing it. But I really didn't start getting really into it until I was probably about 12 or 13. Um, And then growing up, I started off at Lakewood. No, I'm sorry, Woodlake Country Club. That's where I like really learned how to play. And then Eagle Ridge was next, which is obviously where I know where you guys are from. Great place. And then I moved on to Jumping Brook, and then now I've been playing a lot of golf out of Eagle Oaks. But yeah, growing up in Howell was great. Going through high school, I did play a lot of golf, and I always wanted to go and play professionally. And even through college, I thought about it quite a bit, but I never really fully committed, I guess. So after I finished my 4 years at URI, um, I did a graduate year, and I kind of gave me some time to think about it. And I didn't play golf that year. I just helped out with the team and was an assistant coach. And then after I graduated, it was right when COVID started. So right when COVID started, I had already had a job lined up. I interviewed successfully, and that's when I really decided that I wasn't going to play golf anymore, and I was just going to go into the corporate world. And once I did that, I found out real quick that it wasn't so easy. I did I did 2 years at KPMG in audit services, and it was it was interesting.
Not
At
as fun
first,
as
I thought it was
golfing.
okay, not at all, and it was very different, I guess, than what I was used to. I was sitting at home. We worked remotely, so I didn't really make many friends. I never really met any of the people I was working with. We were working long hours, sometimes in busy season, 80 to 100-hour weeks. And coming up on my second year, which was this past October, actually about a year ago, is when an opportunity came up for me to get back into golf, and I decided to take it. And now we are here. I am currently living in Florida. That's right. I moved just about 10 months ago. So it's been a crazy year, but it's been exciting, and I've learned quite a bit. So
When you think, yeah, go ahead, Rye.
I was just gonna say that's awesome to have like that second opportunity. You got this like second birth or second quote unquote chance of life for your golfing life, and I'm glad you took the bull by the horns and were like, hey, I'm gonna commit to this, move to Florida, and as Mike said, got your first win recently, so that's great.
So Dawson, when you talk a little bit about like not being fully committed to becoming like a pro, more or less, like obviously, I think when people see the guys on the Corn Ferry Tour or even the PGA Tour, like, we always joke around with how damn good they truly are. And being someone who has those types of like aspirations, when you say work hard, obviously for Ryan and I, we're talking about just going to pick up the clubs, tee off, and just play. But like, what's a normal day like for someone like you that wants to make it to that level?
yeah, so a normal day, if I'm not playing a tournament, typically I'm up early. I like to go to the gym. I like to go to the gym first in the morning, get a nice stretch in, do some, you know, lightweight, high rep, kind of like high intensity workouts. And then after that, I actually like to spend about 70% of my time inside 100 yards working on my game. So I'll usually do about an hour and a half putting. I'll do an hour and a half about chipping, short game like between 30 and 50 yards, and then I'll go beat balls for like an hour. Um, and then if I have the opportunity, I'll try and go play 18. Right now, the practice situation down here is difficult, but I've been managing. It's hard to find a club down here that's affordable. So I've been using a lot of public places, and a couple of the connections I've had of well, one of them, the one place I was playing at a bit was sold, so I'm no longer able to use that. But typical day is usually a nice workout, about 3 to 5 hours of practice, and then hopefully if I could play 18, that would be ideal.
That whole situation sounds ideal.
Yeah, yeah, it's tiring, but it's I enjoy it, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like you said, definitely a lot different than your being cooped up at home or an office. It's a good revitalization of it.
Was there something that kind of triggered that decision to say, you know what, like, as much as I thought like this corporate world may be something that like, all right, I can go down, my heart was still in the game of golf, and obviously, you can really, really play golf. It's not just like, chopping it around. Like, I think, I believe so that your record at the NJSGA championship of 15 under par still holds to this day. And obviously, you broke your previous record that was 14 under. So it's not like you're some, schmuck, more or less. But like, what was the thought process as to why you said, you know what, I'm going 2 feet in on this professional thing?
So in the past, I had always thought about it, considered it. Even though like I did play really well, I had those great finishes in those tournaments, like great scores. I guess maybe I wasn't 100% sure either that I was good enough, or I wasn't 100% like all in on it. And the biggest one of them all, so is financial. It didn't make sense at the time. And that actually is what, kind of opened up the opportunity, and the fact that I was already looking for somewhere else to work. I was trying to leave the company, to find something a little less, I guess, grueling. But at that time I feel like I had missed it so much, and that financial opportunity came up, in which I was like, man, I'm like 100% all in. Like, this is something that I was thinking about in the past, and I was willing to take on that risk. So
Yeah, I mean I'm very familiar with the area that you're in Jupiter. My parents now live full time down there, so when
okay.
I see you at like Abacoa or the Florida Club, like, I know those spots very, very well just from playing with Dad when I go down there. So I get what you're saying when you're talking about like how exclusive some of these places are and how expensive it is to be, frankly, a member there.
Yeah.
But there are decent public golf courses there that, you can definitely improve your game. Why don't you talk a little bit about the financial side of it? Because I understand, like, it's your livelihood. And if things don't work out, it's like, all right, well, I need to either figure something out or I got to go win. So, like, how much stress and pressure do you put on yourself in that respect?
Um, I've handled it pretty well. Um, I will say overall from the financial side of it, there is somebody helping. So, that takes the weight off the back, but at the same time, like, there is a timeline, this isn't a forever thing. So you kind of got to make the most of the situation early on. Um, and I've been doing just that. I've been working hard. I've been staying calm. I haven't been, I've been patient. I think that's the most important thing. You can't assume things are just going to happen overnight, especially with qualifying. And, sometimes you see stories of guys who make it real fast, or some of them it takes years. So the big thing is I've tried to like put that aside and just say, okay, like, this is my job. Every day I'm trying to go out there and earn a check. And if I can earn back, what I've put into it, then, it's been a good day. Until obviously there is a obvious goal in the end. And that's why over the course of the year, I've played like a very aggressive schedule, I guess you'd call it, a lot of qualifiers, which aren't money makers, like state opens and things of that nature. But I think it's been good. I've learned a lot. And I think going into this year, it's going to change my perspective a lot on the way I look at, like the way things move forward from here. So.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, I'm sure you got a lot of big insight from this past year. You said you turned pro in 10 months ago, so like January?
In December. Yeah, December.
So this first year of like kind of getting your feet wet and understanding the process and all it takes, I'm sure that it's astronomically more knowledgeable. You'll be astronomically more knowledgeable going into next year on the whole process and how it works and all that kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fortunately, the schedules for a lot of the tours, they don't change much year over year. And I've tried out quite a bit of different things, like some mini tours. And, you could kind of mix them in with qualifiers in your schedule in order to make it make sense. Like whether you go on the road for like 3 weeks and you got, 2 4-day events and like 3 qualifiers. So that's the idea. And the first go around for the year was kind of like it was kind of just a test run, I guess is what you call it, with the hope of some success. And I did play well in quite a few events this year, which was nice. But come this year, I can look at it a lot differently, and I guess maybe I wouldn't say not be as nervous or overwhelmed or whatnot, but I'll definitely be more prepared going in because I know what to expect now.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, that tournament, that you won out in Iowa, like I think that had to give you some, I would just say like justification more or less, like, hey, listen, or vindication is probably a better word. Like, I still got it. I still can do it. The grind is difficult, but when you went out there, you played really, really solid golf. I remember, I'd shoot you a DM when I saw a score post either by you or by Charlie about what you were doing out there, and going 65, 65, and then 69 those 3 rounds, like at really a place, from my understanding, that you didn't even know particularly well, and being able to do that on a golf course, I think had to just show yourself like, all right, it's still in the tank. I can still do this.
Absolutely. And the one big thing about those types of opens, like Cedar Rapids and Waterloo, whatever, a lot of the guys that are playing in those events are all the guys I've been competing against all year. It's either guys that have conditional Corn Ferry status, or they have PGA Tour Canada or PGA Tour Latin status. Those guys, it just goes to show like, oh, I can, compete against these guys, because it's not, the fields pretty much are about the same. You're playing against guys where that, in the past might be intimidating. Like, oh, wow, look at that guy. He's got this status or that status. But I've been playing up against guys all year long, especially on the minor league tour. And I've been able to compete, if not beat, like many of them. So I think that win especially was a huge confidence boost. Especially looking down at the field and some of the names on there, which, obviously you guys would know, but like I'm very familiar with just because I've seen them around. But yeah, it was definitely a huge confidence boost. And that I think that was the turning point where I really truly believed like I can compete against pretty much any of these guys. So.
And as you kind of like look ahead now to like, I kind of, I don't want to say a wraparound season, but like now as you're ending the calendar year of 2023 and you're looking ahead to 2024, like I know a lot of like Q school things are going on and different qualifiers are going on. What are some things that are lined up for you? What are your goals into next year? Like, obviously, I'm not really sure in terms of like the Corn Ferry Tour, but like, are you trying to go through Q school with that? Like, where do you kind of stand with things?
Yeah, so I'd say ultimately, a realistic goal at the end of the year is to have some sort of Corn Ferry status. Um, I did participate in Q school. Unfortunately, I didn't make it through. It was actually very disappointing because I had probably my worst week of the year in the qualifying, and but that's just how it is. You know, you got to play well at the right times. But I'd say overall that would be my main goal, and then another couple goals would be to Monday qualify for a couple of PGA Tour events, which I did do a few of those last year. I made it through a bunch of pre-qualifiers and got to the Mondays, but wasn't successful. Um, Although I think probably the best route is going Corn Ferry first, into the PGA Tour. Uh, but it's still would be nice to try to get into one or two PGA Tour events through qualifying. I just think the upside is much greater. Um, but yeah, those are the overall goals, and to have fun. So
How does that work? That process of Q school work? You know, we followed Chris Goddard and Ryan McCormick and some of those New Jersey guys on the Corn Ferry Tour this year. But what's the difference between getting into the Corn Ferry Tour and going to Q school from the professional side of it?
okay, yeah, so it's actually I've understood it a lot better now, but it's kind of complicated. Um, so since I didn't really have, it was my first go around with everything. Um, I didn't meet any of the certain, I guess, milestones you'd call them, to get any sort of exemption through any of the stages. So I had to start from like the pre-qualifying. So normally you'd start out at pre-qualifying. If you make it through, you go to first stage. And if you make it through first stage, you go to second stage. You make it through second stage, you go to final stage. And if you make it to final stage, you're guaranteed status.
On the
At that
Corn Ferry
point,
Tour.
you're on the Corn Ferry Tour. If you come in last, the status isn't great, but you're basically in that final stage. You're playing for your how good your status is. So if you get top 30 or top 20 or whatever, then you'd probably be able to play most of the events throughout the year. And if you win, obviously you get the full. If you come in the top five, you probably still get mostly full. Um, but you can also be exempt into you can be exempt into final stage. Like now they have, which is actually new to me. They weren't really doing this. I don't. They actually they started doing this maybe when I was still in college. The PGA Tour U. I can't remember when that started exactly, but um, a lot of guys do that. Depending on what they finish on there, they might get to second stage or they might go straight to final stage right out of college. But if you're starting from kind of nothing, you gotta start at the beginning and play your way through.
You mentioned you were disappointed with not making it. What stage was that? Was that qualifying or was that in any
That
of the
was actually
stages with it?
that was actually pre-qualifying.
Okay.
So I missed by one, um, which was disappointing because I mean pre-qualifying is kind of it should be one of the easier ones to get through. Um, Unfortunately, I played two of my worst competitive rounds of the year in the same 3 day stretch, and it is what it is. Um, but you know what? If you make it to first stage and you miss there, it's no different. Make it to second stage, you miss there, it's no different. You just missed earlier,
Right.
So now we're just going back to Monday qualifying, which it's doable. It's hard. You gotta shoot 7, 8, 9 under in those 1 day events, and because they got stacked fields of 140 guys playing for 4 spots. So and they're all good. So you got to go out
Yeah,
and
I
have a
mean,
day. You got to go out and have a day.
yeah, I've seen stories like James Nicholas and guys like that who do that type of thing that you're mentioning, where they are guys that have played on the Corn Ferry Tour or have been alternates or even frankly have done Monday qualifiers to get in the tournament for that week. Looking ahead, are obviously you mentioned that you're going to do some for the PGA Tour and some for the Corn Ferry Tour, but in terms of having a quote home, is there one in terms of the tour or minor league tours that you're like focused on that a lot of your time will be spent if qualifiers in a sense don't go your way?
Yes. So typically, especially this time of year, it's very slow. as far as PGA Tour qualifiers and Korn Ferry, like the seasons are kind of over. I actually am playing a PGA Tour qualifier in 2 weeks in Georgia. There just aren't that many opportunities because a lot of them are, especially this upcoming year, we're not really sure. There could be a lot of closed events because of that new system that they're starting. But yes, a lot of my time when I'm down here throughout the winter is going to be spent doing the minor league tour. They have events every week, 2 to 3 events a week, and you play them, you stay sharp, and they keep you sharp in between the Mondays. And also I've done at least last year I did 3 all pro tour events is what they're called. So that tour is kind of run through the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, like that Midwest area there. But those events are great. They're 4 rounds, 2-day cut. So they're like real tour events. That's the idea. Going into it, they used to be a tour that kind of followed the Korn Ferry Tour schedule. So it allowed guys to play the 4-day event and then go Monday qualify. Last year it changed a bit because the Korn Ferry changed their schedule. But that throughout the winter time, for sure, that and the minor league tour. And then in the summer is when a lot of the state opens happen. So when you have time in between, or at least the qualifiers match up with where the state opens are, and you could travel there and it makes sense. You don't have to go back and forth. That's typically like the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because from my understanding, that's a very common thing for guys in your position to play in state opens. 1, to kind of be closer to home for a week, and then 2, to possibly earn a paycheck in some respects. And, guys like you entering the New Jersey State Open, for example, like you would probably be one of the favorites, if not the favorite to win, and that kind of helps the piggy bank to some extent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And as much as you want to just try and do Monday qualifiers, because if you get in, the upside is so much greater, there needs to be breaks in between where you just do like 3 or 4 round mini tour events with, high entry fees, kind of winner take all sort of scenario. I wouldn't say that necessarily, like if you can top 10 or whatever, you're going to get your money back. But you need those events in between because they keep you sharp and they allow you to, try and earn some money.
Right. Kind of, get your gambling fix in. Like, hey, we're gonna go low and go all in and see how it goes.
I mean, that's a good way to think about it. I mean, a lot of these tours they're just, I guess, run gambling matches for the most part.
You're pushing all your chips right to the center and saying, I'm all in.
You just hope you're playing with pocket aces.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's crazy too, is you play in some of these events and guys will show up who are, they might be on the Korn Ferry Tour, or sometimes even some PGA Tour guys will come back and they'll play a minor league event in between just to like stay sharp, And
yeah. I think I've seen stories of Max Homa doing that out in Scottsdale. Like I've read stories of these guys just showing up, not because they need the money, but sometimes it's that competitive itch that fuels guys like that. And
that's what it is.
And I think golf, and golf is such a quirky thing that like, it's so damn hard. I say it all the time that like on any given day, your number could be lower than his and you win.
Yeah. Yeah. You just like, it's always play well at the right time, And I think that's why a lot of those guys do come back because, like you said, they don't care about the money. A lot of it is like any tournament round is better than any practice you're going to do on your own. That's at least what I've come to notice. If I play 3 tournament weeks in a row, I'm going to be way sharper than I am if I just like went to the range and beat balls every day. And then I go out on the course and I'm like, oh geez, I haven't hit a 7-iron like with water on the left in a while, or I haven't hit a driver up between 2 bunkers. I was just like swinging freely on the range, or even the putting, it's the same thing. Like your focus.
I back that 100% because I think a lot of times you learn way more by actually playing the game rather than, I understand the practice is important. Don't get me wrong, like all those little things. But at the end of the day, like when it's ball in hole and everything matters, the focus, the drive, the motivation is a lot different than if I top one on the driving range.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing is when you're playing a tournament, even if you're just playing 18 holes by yourself, it's not the same as a tournament because you're just out there like, oh, it doesn't really matter. You're trying to make good shots, you're trying to shoot a good score or whatever, but in the end, you shoot 65 or 75, it don't matter. You just go on to the next day. But if you're playing a tournament round, that's when you really learn how to play your game. You know, you learn how to overcome like, oh, I'm not hitting it great today. How do I finish it even? I'm not putting well today. How do I just two putt? How do I just get the ball in the fairway? I'm swinging it terribly. And that's how you learn. You figure out how to, I guess, just play your game and be successful without, even if things aren't going great. And that's the most important thing. You need your bad days to be not so bad. You need your good days to be great. So that's how you learn to do
I'm still waiting to figure that out for my own personal game.
it.
Now, when you say you're going to try to Monday qualify for the one in Georgia, is it fair to say it's the RSM?
It is the RSM, yes.
And obviously, that's Davis Love's event. Obviously one of our past guests on the show, David Ford. He'll be a participant there. He's an amateur. But my question regarding that is like, have you played Sea Island? Have you been out there? Or are you just going to wing it like you did out in Iowa?
Yeah, so that's pretty much what's going to happen. I think the qualifier's on a Thursday maybe, so probably head up there Wednesday, play a practice round at the course, the pre-qualifier course. Unfortunately, you have to do that. You have to pre-qualify if you don't have, I believe if you have Corn Ferry status or any sort of PGA Tour status, you can go straight to the Monday qualifier. But that's why the PGA Tour events are a little different. You have to actually pre-qualify and then go to the Monday. But yeah, I've never been out there, so it'll just be show up the day before, play a practice round, go and try and shoot. Pre-qualifying is not too terrible. Usually, you can shoot between 3 and 5. Usually, you'll get through. And then actually the PGA Tour Mondays, I think it's easier to get in through those than it is the Corn Ferry Mondays, just because you have a limited field, and half the guys are just old PGA Tour pros that are, sometimes you see some names in the field and you're like, oh wow, I remember that guy. He's just there trying to like get into the event. He doesn't even really care because he's already probably retired or whatever. So just it seems like just even the last, let's see, I played in 3 or 4 PGA Tour Monday qualifiers this year. The lowest one was 6 under. In the Corn Ferry, the lowest one I played in was 9 under. If you don't shoot 7 or 8 in the Corn Ferries, you're not getting through. But in the PGA Tour qualifiers, all day, you'll get through.
And why do you think that is?
Smaller field, I think. So like I played in one in Michigan this past year, and the Monday qualifier had 45 guys. And in the typical Corn Ferry ones, you're looking at 140 to 160 guys playing for the same amount of spots. And the talent's still there. The talent's still good, but you just have less chances of a guy shooting 7 under when you got 45 guys, It's crazy.
The odds are in your favor. I guess that's, obviously the odds are in your favor. If you're looking at asking me like, no offense, 45 guys to 140 and you all can go low, why would I not just try to do the pre-qualifiers to the Monday qualifying for the PGA Tour when if I'm playing a numbers game, and I know Ryan hates this, but I'm a big numbers guy through and through, like, why wouldn't I just keep doing that?
It's the biggest thing is expense. You got to go spend a week wherever you're going, so a lot of
Fair
guys
point.
can go fly
Okay,
to a
that makes
Monday and
sense.
fly home. Yeah. Rather than being like, oh, I got to get, because they're not all on Thursday. Some of them are on Tuesday. So if you get in, let's say I played in, let's say you got to go to Kentucky, you got to either drive there or fly there, and then you got to spend a whole week there. And it's like, where are you going to play? Where are you going to practice? You got to do that every day. And then you obviously have to get lodging. That's the most expensive thing in most of the travel. It's the friggin' hotel rooms or the Airbnbs, they wipe you out. So
See, that's where I guess I lose
yeah,
it because that makes the most sense to me now. All of a sudden, when you're balancing it out, like now,
yeah.
I get it, because that's something that we've heard a lot from people. It's just the financial side of it as to why either they haven't taken that step that you're doing right now, or they've tried it and it just didn't work out. But obviously, we're optimistic that you get this done because like Ryan said, we followed those 3 guys on the Corn Ferry Tour through and through this season. It was just like so fun and so vicariously living through them.
Yeah.
I wonder if the scores aren't lower because, like, if there's 140 people in a field for a Corn Ferry Tour, that you got to go 8, 9 under. So you're just firing at flag sticks. So it's got to be you're just hunting for it all day, and it doesn't matter what your lie is or what that you got to get a score, and that par isn't going to help you at all. So why that risk reward of like, well, I could go there and I could potentially get a birdie, or if I chunk it or if I miss it or whatever and I get a bogey, par wasn't helping you anyway, so bogey's definitely not. So I wonder if the game of golf actually comes into play more when you have 45 guys, because you got to be more strategic.
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, that's what's the craziest thing is that I feel like the first few I played in were very, I'm sitting out there going like, ooh, there's like trouble up there. Let me just hit like a 4-iron off the tee. And it's like, no, like you got to learn to play more aggressive, and you just have to, in a sense, you play aggressive to the point where it becomes stupid, like, or right before it becomes stupid, like you don't want to put yourself in a position to make a bogey, because let's say you start off par bogey. Now you're like, okay, instead of making 8 birdies, now I need to make 9, so you put yourself in a harder position. But in the PGA Tour Mondays, I guess you could think of it that way. But even to shoot 6 under, unless you're just draining putts or you're like, flagging wedges all day, it's you still play on the slightly more aggressive side, I would say. I mean, I have a story when I played in the Rocket Mortgage Monday. I got paired up with this guy named Kyle Reefers. He's currently on the PGA Tour. I don't think he has like full status, so he still has to Monday qualify for some events. He flew in from the Travelers the night before, got in at like 3 a.m., showed up to a course he's never seen. I practiced at it all weekend because I was there, had nothing else to do. And he went on his phone on the GPS, looked at the holes, ripped driver on every single hole and shot 8 under. And the course was narrow. And I was sitting there going, like, after the round, I shot like even or something. I was like, wow, I really overthought this. I was like, you just got to go out and just like mindlessly play. It was ridiculous. I was like, I can't believe that this guy slept 2 hours, showed up to the tee, never seen the golf course. I've seen it twice, and he just like beat me by 8 shots and didn't even like think about it. It's ridiculous. So I think a lot of that's just being mindless. Like you just go out and you pick your targets, you get the ball as close to the green as possible, and you just hope it works out,
I mean, they always say that. Think about it. Like, how many times when you nonchalantly go up to a putt and you really don't give a crap whether it goes in or not, and you always make it. But then the time you sit there and you're grinding, it's like, and you miss it, it is one of those things that I've heard from a lot of people, like, not in a negative way, but you have to care less, and you have to be fearless, and you have to just be willing to take that and just go with it while understanding and balancing it all out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something I've gotten a little better at. But at first, I feel like it was too strategic. You're sitting here going like, okay, I'm going to hit it to here. Then I'm going to do this. And like, oh, this hole's not a birdie hole. It's like, can't look at it like that. I remember there was one hole on this course I was talking about. I'm sitting there going, oh, you got to just hit an iron out to the right. There's no other play. And this guy pulled up that hole, took driver like literally over these trees. You couldn't even see where the ball was going. It was like one of those shots where like you'd want a spotter up there. And he just took a driver and ripped it over and had like a wedge in. And I was like, wow, I really overthought this hole. Like it's actually pretty wide up there. It's just thought of hitting it over like all that crap, But yeah, I think that's a lot of what it is. You pick your targets, and if you hit them, you're probably going to play well. If you don't hit them, better luck next week.
Yeah, I agree. It's got to kind of be that type of mindset. Yeah. And then obviously, like as a very good golfer, from a high school perspective, a collegiate golfer, amateur, now kind of like where you're sitting now, like, what do you say to the young kids that have aspirations to do what you're doing? You know, obviously we talk to a lot of high school kids and they're very good at golf, but they're not, they think they're Division I golfers, and then all of a sudden they, you know, have some sort of success. Like, what are some things you would give to a high school kid now who has aspirations to do big things?
Well, the one thing I would say, practice, hard work. That's a good start. Second, I think a lot of it's up here. If you're confident in yourself and you set goals and you work to achieve them, things will usually work out in the long run. But those are the two big things. I mean, I have never practiced this much as I've been practicing now. And I've noticed that things have become a lot easier and my mental game has become 10 times better. You know, I used to get angry. I used to overthink. And you can't do that. You have to put whatever's already happened in the past and you move on. And I think that's one of the most important things, and you'll only get better from there. I don't think things will ever backtrack. So focus up here.
Yeah. Ryan, that's probably something we hear a lot from people is that mindset of having a quick memory, moving on, turning the page. Because like a lot of times, those high school kids are hot, they're immature, they don't know how to handle adversity, and one double bogey, and we all know how it goes, they shoot 85.
Oh, yeah. Next thing you know, you drag that double bogey for the next 5 holes, and you make 4 more doubles, you know. And you have to think ahead and say, okay, how do we get this back? You know, it already happened. You can't change it, so... You know, you
right,
get
that's
mad.
Gotta be your mindset.
I feel personally attacked by both of you.
Right, that's got to be your mindset.
I don't care. Honest, I'm just not a good golfer. I don't carry them over and worry about the double I had. Just, it's inevitable that the next double is coming.
See, you got to get that out of your mind.
It's not even in my mind. No, it's not in there.
It is. You just said it.
What is? It's not in there. I said, I don't care about the last double. I'm going to go out and play my game, and inevitably more doubles are going to come because I'm not a very good golfer.
I would say that the biggest thing... Well, what's your handicap, by the way?
I'm an 11.
11? Mike, what about you?
My index is like 1.8.
Okay. So for Ryan, the biggest thing you can do... I'd say the most important thing you can do is anything at all costs, avoid double.
Yeah, no, that's honestly, that's my goal every time.
Find a way to do it.
Yeah. It's my goal every time. If I can, like, I know the math. If you bogeyed every hole, you're going to shoot 90. And then you're below 90, you're going to accidentally run into some pars. I 100% know that. It's, what I can't do, like, if I lose a ball, like, that's 1, drop 2, then I can go and again, because I'm not a terribly great golfer, if that bogey turns into a double or a triple because of the penalty, I'd say it's more penalty shots that I get doubles on. But yeah, 100%. That's always my goal is avoid. I have no problem with bogeys. I really don't. It's the doubles, triples, and snowmen that I try to avoid.
Dawson, it's so funny you say that because this past week we had this exact same conversation, Ryan and I, on the podcast about like his game specifically, how he hovers in that like 85 realm. And I'm like, dude, the only way you're going sub 85 consistently is if you avoid the doubles. Word for word, like you just reiterated last week's episode, 100% to a T.
And a one-way miss. If you can work on a one-way miss, you basically take a whole side of the golf course out. So if you hit a cut, like, okay, like you just took out the left side of the golf course and make sure that ball cuts, you know? Or if you hit a draw, other way around.
Yeah.
I think that's another big one where you like that's where you can pick and choose your battles of like how aggressive or how like where you want to aim and stuff like that. The one-way miss. It's always a big one.
I like that. The only problem is sometimes it's not a miss left. It just goes straight left. It's not like I hook it but I have a fade to a power slice, I'll call it, or power fade. But it's Yeah, I like that. Avoid the one side. Again, as Mike has said, like I just don't get out like you're talking about working out in the morning and stretching and then getting to the range, working on 100 yards and in for 70%. I mean, Mike and I, the time that we spend practicing golf is like the 6 minutes before a round, and usually 4 of those minutes are ordering a cocktail. So it's really just it's really it just comes down to putting a little bit of practice in, and I do think that I could get there. Just it's time and desire, I guess, to cut it down. But
Absolutely. I remember even working at KPMG, I was happy to get in 18 holes a week because I was working a lot of weekends too. So if I could get out Sunday, Sunday night, or maybe pop over in between, calls or whatever at 5 o'clock at night to go hit a few balls. So I remember it.
yeah.
I do. It was, it made it, yeah, it was still enjoyable. I still enjoyed it. I just had less crazy goals on the golf course. It was more just having fun slapping it around rather than being real serious.
Right, and that's the difference. Like you gotta love the grind of like practicing and putting tees in the ground, working on putting and stuff like that, as opposed to like if I have 2 hours, I know I need to change my mindset in this if I want to be better. But like if I have 2 hours, I'd rather go play 9 holes as opposed to work on putting for an hour and then work on short game for an hour.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
I actually agree with that. I think that's better than going to just like slap a few putts around because you're actually hitting real putts in the course or
Yeah.
you're hitting a real shot on the golf course. I guess you could drop multiple balls out there, but I always think playing in general, like non-tournament related, playing is still better, I think, than just beating balls in the range because it gets, like I said, you start to kind of like lose focus out there where you just have a target and you're just slapping it at it constantly. Yeah, it's good for working on ball contact and this and that, but then when you actually get faced with the real shot, then things change because you don't have that perfect number or you haven't hit it 10 times in a row. You have to just execute it right there and then.
Right, you didn't get into robot mode of just pounding the same 7-iron for 180 yards or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's just good for keeping the muscle memory, the rhythm, more than the actual skill of like executing it on the golf course. You just do that just so you can, like, same with putting. You go to the putting green just to keep the stroke sharp. But other than that, like you're faced with all sorts of different putts, different green speeds, different courses. You're not going to hit that same 6-footer. The next one might have break or it might be downhill, it might be uphill. So a lot of it's just like staying sharp in those areas rather than actually, I guess, getting better on playing your game on the course.
Yeah, I agree on all
Right,
this.
I think we found your new mental coach.
Yeah.
I know you're asking for that this week. So
That's what asked. Yeah.
We'll get Dawson on speed dial for you when you're having your blow-ups in the golf course. But nonetheless, Dawson, like some of the things here that we like to emphasize is obviously golfing in the Garden State and talking about all the good golf that we have here at home. As a kid who's grew up here, played a lot of golf, played a lot of good golf, is there a public golf course and maybe a private golf course that you would recommend to the audience that if they had the opportunity, they got to take advantage of it?
Yeah. So, of public golf courses, actually, one of my favorites is, as we mentioned before in the podcast, is Charleston South. I think it's got a lot of character. It's a lot of fun. It's got some risk reward par fours. It's got some good par fives. And I've played it a ton just because I was local to the area. I always had my Monmouth County card when I was like younger, growing up. I always loved that place. I'll still go play it now if I'm ever home. And then for the private courses, I actually just recently played a tournament there this year. One of my favorites is Arcola. I love that place. Played well there in the past. I played well at a Met-Am there. Played well at the Met Open this past summer. And that place is ridiculous. Fastest greens you'll ever play. So
I'm happy you said that.
We've had a few people say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you said it. This right away. Bang, yes.
Yeah, I mean, when you get up on that fifth tee, make sure you look out. You see the New York City skyline. It's pretty cool.
Okay, I like that. It's good advice.
Arcola, baby.
Yeah. And if they have the greens cooking, good luck on number 9. That green is devious.
Devious. You want to be below the hole?
Oh,
yeah.
act like you can put it where you want to put it. Now, listen, now you're taking your game to another level. We're talking about not making double bogeys, and now you're asking where the ball should go on the green?
This small.
Let's work on avoiding the doubles.
Dawson, I think golfers are rather quirky by nature, and I think that we kind of have this innate, like, whether you want to call it a habit or as I just said, a quirk, or just something on the golf course that just like makes us feel good in going into a competition. And what are some of those that you might have? Like some people have said, like they need to have 2 big tees and 1 small tee in their right hand pocket, and they have a golf ball, an extra ball in their left pocket. Like what are some that, like, when you get ready for golf, like that you just have to have, and if you don't have it, you seem off balance there?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I'm not a very superstitious person.
So you're a little stitious.
What's that?
But you're a little stitious. It's a Michael Scott quote.
Oh man, I don't know. Let's see.
See, he's pretty normal, like me.
Actually, the one thing is that I'm usually very. I actually, now you say like tees in the pocket, everything. Before every round, like right before we start, I always have to have my divot fixing tool in my pocket. Usually 2 or 3 tees and my ball marker like ready, because in the past I found myself every time like going up to the green and like having to run back for my ball marker. And I always have my golf balls marked before I go out there too. I always have 3 of them marked, ready to go.
And are they marked in a special way, or just like you put a dot somewhere like everybody else?
Yeah, no, it's I play a Titleist Pro V1, and I always put a black line right through the Titleist on both sides, and then usually a couple dots like below the number.
See, those are the quirks that we're talking about. Those are like things that, like, again, you don't know why you do them. It's one of
I'll sit there and like do it perfect. Yep.
Right, exactly. You'll sit over there like you're Picasso trying to do stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like, if you didn't do that, you just, that has nothing to do with the golf ball, but it has everything to do with like you feeling balanced in there. Those are some
and
good
it's the
ones.
same thing. Like the way I set up my ball when I putt, like I always have to, even though I don't use a line, I use that black line on the Titleist, like goes parallel to my putter face. I have to have it like that way when I go to putt.
Okay.
So,
yeah, those are some good ones. Yeah. And then we'd be remiss, again, we're a New Jersey podcast talking golf in the Garden State. There's this big debate in New Jersey. It's probably the greatest debate in the history of mankind. But there's a particular breakfast meat that has a name in our state.
it's pork roll.
Atta boy. Got it out before I could even ask. Atta boy.
We just know when some interviews are better than others.
You must be from below exit 135 then, on the Parkway.
So he's even throwing out numbers. He's so well versed in it. Yeah, I've told Mike it's basically like the Driscoll Bridge is kind of like the where it is. But yeah, it is like that one. What's that? 127. So 35's right there too. Yeah, those are, anyone below that is good. Is good with pork roll.
Do you consider it Central or South Jersey then?
Central.
Yes. There you go.
So
Central all day.
There is a Central Jersey.
But listen, Dawson, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, nonetheless on such short notice. You know, I know that we had touched base a while ago, and trying to find some time with everybody's schedule can be a little hectic at times, but listen, you know, you got 2 fans here. We're rooting for you, and hopefully, you know, good things, you know, to come.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I hope that when I'm back in New Jersey at some point, we can all get together and play. That'd be great. I'd love to get back at Eagle Ridge, one of my original stomping grounds when I was just a junior. That would be awesome. I don't think I've been out there since. So,
well, you come back, we'll make that happen. That'd be great, Dawson. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Take
All
care.
right, pal. See you later.
Take care.
Bye.